Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the May 24th public session of the OpenJS Foundation board meeting.
And let's call the meeting to order.
Thank you, Miles. Here we have an update on the OpenJS Foundation Board of Directors. Since the last meeting, Sarah Novotny has resigned from the board, and Miles Borens is now the Platinum Director for Google. So I'd like to thank Sarah for all of her time and all of her many contributions to the board, and welcome Miles into the position. And then this week we had an election among the Platinum members of the board. Miles has been confirmed as the vice chairperson, and we welcome him in that position as well. A general reminder on the 2019 meeting schedule: we tend to meet on Fridays, generally at 2 p.m. Eastern, and this will be live streamed as well. These calls are all live streamed. The next meeting will be on June 21st. The agenda for today's call: we are going through the welcome. We will approve the meeting minutes from the last meeting. I will give a brief member update. We have some discussion around the Node.js TSC charter update, which happened, is currently open as a pull request right now. I'll give a brief update on the event and some information on the transition being the merger of Node.js Foundation and JS Foundation. Miles will give a TSC update. Tracy will update us on the ComCom, and then Rachel Romoff from the Linux Foundation will give a marketing update. Does anybody have any changes or additions to the agenda? Okay, hearing none, let's move on to approving the minutes. So, board, you have received the May 3rd board meeting minutes from the public session. Do we have a motion to adopt the minutes? Somebody make a motion to?
I'll make a motion to approve the meeting and approve the minutes.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Do we have any opposed? Any abstain? Okay, motion carries. The board meeting minutes from the public session on May 3rd have been approved. Okay, so the first update that I have here, as many people are aware, we are in the process right now of searching for an executive director for the OpenJS Foundation. We've had a number of candidates apply so far, and I would like to remind everybody that the application period is still open and will be open for another week or two. If you're interested in applying, if you feel that this is something that calls to you, please definitely do so. We would love to see your CV and your cover letter, and the link to do so is below. You can also get to this if you go to the openjsf.org website. Just a quick update on membership. We have a number of members who've joined us from the JSF. In the past month, we had the blog starter come over as well. Anybody who is listening, who is part of an organization which is not a member, we encourage you to become a member, and all that information is at openjsf.org/join. And certainly, if you have any questions about membership benefits, or the process, or anything else, you can always reach out to us at membership@openjsf.org, and we'll be happy to answer them, really whatever questions you have. The first thing on our agenda is the Node.js TSC charter update. Miles, would you like to tell us a little bit about what this is?
Yeah, so the really high level about this is our original charter for the Technical Steering Committee was set up having the Technical Steering Committee chartered by the Node.js Foundation Board of Directors. In the new governance structure of the OpenJS Foundation, the Technical Steering Committee will be chartered by the CPC rather than the board. The CPC's charter outlines that they will charter all projects and will escalate to the board for consensus at any time that there are substantial changes. So I flag this in particular as arguably a substantial change because it's changing who is chartering the organization. My thoughts on this, though, is I don't think we need a formal motion or vote or anything. I just think we need consensus at the board that these changes are on the up and up. And, you know, the biggest thing that we wanted to have with the review from the board is ensuring that charters still align projects with the overall mission and goals of our foundation. And from a review of this, I don't believe that there's anything within this pull request that would, you know, change that. So the point of bringing this up is quickly to give anyone from the board an opportunity to bring up any concerns that they may have. And I also think setting a good precedent for how future charters will be handled. So I guess formally, just does anyone see any concerns with this? Do we have any explicit plus ones? Advice to other groups looking to put together their charters?
I think silence is assent.
Right.
Agreed.
Well, thank you, everyone. I think we're good to move on to the next item, and I will document in that pull request that the board saw no problems into bringing it to the CPC.
Okay, thank you, Moss. Okay, the next item on the agenda is a brief event update. I hope that everybody has noticed that the CFP is open. This is, of course, for the Node+JS Interactive 2019 event, which is taking place in Montreal in December. Anybody who has not yet submitted a CFP talk, please do so. The CFP is open until June 14th, and please pass this information around to your friends, to your collaborators, to your companies. You know, we have certainly seen strong participation in the past from the community for the CFP, and we'd hope to see the same in the future. General calendar, basically, we plan to start notifying people whether their talks have been accepted on July 31st, and hope to announce the schedule sometime during the week of August 5th. As we had mentioned before, we are also planning a 2020 event, continuing to focus upon Canada, probably looking sometime around mid-year. And then finally, I'd like to also thank the initial gold and silver sponsors that we have so far, Sentry and Linode. And there are a number of other organizations which are in the works, but if you're interested in sponsoring this event, please don't hesitate to reach out. You can send an email to info@openjsf.org, and you can also find on this link right here information on how to get in touch about sponsoring. Okay, a brief update on the transition, the merger between the organizations. We have the logos and the projects are live on openjsf.org. We are in the process of transferring over various content that existed on the prior foundation sites. The goal to have them, you know, merged over and fully combined here, hopefully in the next month or so. The CPC has been bootstrapped and is anticipated to really, you know, continue its operations. Say begin operations, but it should be continue operations after the Contributors Summit. We had our first meeting earlier, or they had their first meeting earlier this week. It went well, and looking forward to more things coming out of this group in the future. Internally, we are at the Linux Foundation working on consolidating operations, you know, streamlining the internal operations for members, whether it's the, you know, member joining or renewing membership, or you know, as projects require various services from the foundation, we want to make sure that this is straightforward and that everybody knows what they can take advantage of here. Okay, so let's move on to the TSC update. Miles, what's going on the TSC?
Not a ton to talk about. We've begun discussions, and so has the ComCom, about who will be putting their hat in the race for the community director position that's been earmarked for the Node.js project. We continue to do work on Node.js 12, which is going forward. Lots of good work happening in different areas, such as modules. We're looking forward to the cross-project. We're looking forward to the collaborator summit that's coming up next week in Berlin. We're going to have a lot of our collaborators on site. chatting about a bunch of different things. We're really excited to expand the scope of the meeting. But other than that, for the most part, it is business as usual.
Great. Do we have any questions from Miles? Okay, we will move on to ComCom. Tracy, can you give us an update on what's going on in ComCom?
Yeah, so as we I think covered a little bit, we are currently talking about the process for the ComCom and TSC to work together to identify a director for Node. And that's a surprisingly unique thing that we have not dealt with before in the Node project, is getting those two groups who had pretty separate autonomy in the project itself to decide a person to represent them. So we should have that set very soon. I believe we had already opened the nomination process for people to contact in private from an email that we've set in the issue. And I believe that the CPC is also working on, if we hadn't already mentioned that, figuring out the nominations for the other director seats. And I believe that those nominations and discussions are going to be open through the Collab Summit. Since we're a new group combining together, we wanted to make sure that people have the opportunity to meet the people they might be electing in person at the Collab Summit if they'll be there. That's it.
Okay. Thank you, Tracy. Board, any questions for Tracy on what's happening on ComCom? Okay, then I guess we can move on. Okay, next up, we have a marketing update. We have Rachel Romoff from the Linux Foundation, who will be taking us through what's happening with marketing. So, Rachel.
Awesome. So you can move on to that first slide. So just to reiterate what Brian has already covered about Node plus JS Interactive, our CFP is open. I want to point out that the numbers here, as far as how many talks we have, this is slightly outdated. These numbers were provided on May 13th. So I would say that these are probably a little bit higher. But just as an FYI, please submit. And then the next slide, please. Here's a quick snapshot of our content and thought leadership initiative. I would say that the Node.js 12 blog post is doing really well, not surprisingly. It really bumped up our blog numbers for this past month. Our Node collection numbers are slightly down, and I think that's mostly because we didn't get too many submissions this month. But I'm happy to report that we are working with the ComCom to really put together a really thoughtful Node.js collection refresh. This has been in the works for a little while now. But I'm happy to report that the plan is to have something rolled out by mid-June. So we're really excited about that. We will be talking through this at the Collaborator Summit. We do have some time on the calendar to discuss. So that's really exciting. And then next slide. So this is the first, so this is a kind of a baseline of OpenJS Foundation Social. We successfully switched over from the JS Foundation handle late last week, and we were able to switch that over successfully. We're up about 32 followers. Just as it's not noted on this slide, but the actual handle does have 362,000 followers. So that's just marginally up, but I do think that that's going to go up more as we continue to use that channel. And then here's a quick snapshot on YouTube. We have 9 subscribers in the past 28 days. So again, this is really baseline kind of stuff. I anticipate this going up exponentially, actually. So we can go on to the next. And then this is some additional social media metrics from the Node.js project. We've seen a marginal uptick across all of our social channels, and including YouTube. One of the things I want to just point out as far as sort of things going down is watch time on YouTube. And one of the things that we're doing to see if we can maybe reverse that a little bit is we're putting together, what are they called? Basically, we're putting together playlists, apologies, from the working groups. And we're going to promote those via social to see if, those kinds of things drive a little bit, more engagement on YouTube. And next slide.
Okay. That takes us to the end of the marketing update, right?
Yes, that's the marketing update.
Okay, thank you. Board, do we have any questions for Rachel on the marketing update? Okay, so then this brings us to the tail end of the meeting. I would just remind everybody again, everybody who's watching, I mentioned this once before, I'll mention it again. We are deep in the middle of the search for an executive director for the OpenJS Foundation. Please, if you're interested or if you know anybody who's interested, please do make them aware of the job description and where to submit their CV and cover letter. And with that, that's the end of the content that we have for today, today's agenda. Does anybody have anything they would like to add or any discussion before we close the meeting? Okay, then with that, I believe, Miles, we can probably close the meeting.
I call the meeting adjourned.
Great. Thank you very much, everybody.